Chapter 5 End of Time, Double Times.
Max! Chloe! Max! Chloe! Wake up!
Max woke up in a familiar place. Opening her eyes, she found herself in the known empty and bright space. She turned her head and Chloe was on the right, that was just opening her eyes. She got up abruptly and exclaimed,
Chloe! But what? Are we both here?
Chloe stood up and seeing the brunette said,
Max, where are we? We already been here.
The girls looking around stood up and Chloe said,
Fuck! What now? You are back here, but the reason is unknown to me.
Suddenly intervened the guardian.
Hesperia, maybe do you have to tell us something?
Chloe asked. But suddenly the misty golden light appeared out of nowhere in front of them.
Chosen one! Max Caulfield, we meet at last.
Echoed a voice that Chloe had already heard.
Max, meet the Judge of Time, Mixlo Temporum. I told you that you would have met him sooner or later. Oh, nice to meet you, Your Honor.
And knelt in front of the golden light.
Timeliness, your timeliness will be more than good. Stand up, you don't have to kneel,
said the judge in a benevolent tone.
As you wish, Your Timingness. May I ask you why are we back here?
Mixlo Temporum remained silent for a moment, then said,
You are in a problematic situation, isn't it? Now that you have the source of evil in your hands, you have to find a way to purify it. But the law of the time is inflexible and unfortunately can't.
Suddenly, there was a powerful thunder, and the girls jumped as if the ground was shaking under their feet. Then everything quieted down.
Your timingness! Your timingness! A disaster happened!
Posebius' voice echoed, followed by darkness.
What happened, Posebius?
Hesperia asked.
Posebius! For all the crops of great-grandmothers and great-great-grandmothers, what the bad time was it?
Your timingness, the factory of time, the domain of malevolent havens that run in the factory of time, has suffered serious damage. If we don't do something, the damage will become irremediable and all will be lost.
Damn! But how did it happen?
Hesperia, I don't know. I was finishing to check that all the doors and windows of both domains we know and we can access were open. But while I was going back, the hourglasses on the door began to crack and then to explode, and the domain of bad event is taking possession of the good event's domain.
We must absolutely do something before it's too late,
said the bright guardian.
Hurry! You must go to limit the damage! I hope that this did not happen. Go now!
Mixlo Temporum exhorted them.
At once, Your Timingness!
So the white light and darkness dissolved, leaving the girls alone with the Judge of the Time. They looked at each other, and then Max asked,
"What will happen if the damage becomes irreparable?"
The end of time could be possessed eternally by chaos. Your power will abandon you, becoming totally uncontrollable, and the events that must happen in preordained moments will happen all at once, and your reality could break permanently.
"So we are hella fucked up," said Chloe.
"Do not rush things. They are the guardians of time. If they can't do it, who would ever do it?"
"Your timelessness, can't you do anything?"
Little Chloe, unfortunately, I can only order them what to do, and I can do other things, but the rest depends all on them.
"So now we just have to pray that everything is for the best,"
said the brunette, lowering her head and closing her eyes. After a while, there was another powerful thunder, then silence. The girls were scared as they kept turning around, not knowing what to do.
Your timeliness, Hesperia, is in extreme difficulty. She cannot tame and contain the domain. What do we do now?
The judge didn't answer.
"Posebius, please take us to her,"
Max said suddenly.
What? Are you insane? Do you have any idea of what is happening? You are not even a guardian like us.
"It's true, but maybe I can do something."
But you can't if...
"We'll never know if we don't try,"
Chloe exclaims.
"I take full responsibility for myself, of Chloe, and the consequences of what happens, whatever it is,"
Max replied with determination.
Posebius, bring them to the factory. I have faith in them, and if they say that maybe something can be done, I will think that we have nothing more to lose.
As you wish, your timeliness.
In a blink of eye, they felt a strong wind surrounding them, and a slight dizziness. And after a few seconds, they heard a kind of macabre choir behind their backs. They turned and saw the factory of time, which was almost three-quarter engulfed by the domination of malevolent events, and the light of Hesperia that was overwhelmed by this dark matter every second that was passing, gloaming her a little at a time.
Here we are, humans. I hope you know what you are doing.
The girls ran towards the white light.
"Hesperia, what's going on?" "The domain is advancing and I can't stop it. I don't have enough power to tame it and make it go back. It has almost totally glommed me. I'm almost at the extreme of my strength, and I don't know how long I will be able to resist."
Max looked at the factory as it was like a big industrial structure full of pipes and connection with clocks and hourglasses which were on both sides, but the side of the malevolent events was completely destroyed. The doors totally unhinged, the windows cracked, and the main door had literally exploded, and dark matter leaking everywhere and mercilessly assaulting the domain of benevolent events. Chloe, that was also seeing, couldn't believe her eyes.
"Max, what do you think you do? The damage seems irreparable and...
Max, without warning, stretched out her hands, using her power, and the dark matter let out a groan of pain, but soon after, a sort of dark wave hit the brunette, throwing her on the ground and making her crawl a few meters further back. Chloe ran to help her, and when Max got up, her nose was bleeding.
Oh shit! Also here now! Chloe, there is no time. I have to try again. Max, your power is not enough. Yes, you caused it a pain, but it has fought back, and look what I've done to you. I know, but I gave my word that I won't take full responsibility, and therefore I have to try everything.
Max, maybe if we combine our powers, we'll have success.
Alright, Hesperia, together, now!
And both unleashed their powers on the dark matter, which now could not fight back, but that persisted stubbornly to resist. Max, we can't make it. It's a stalemate situation. We will not get out of it.
Chloe, hurry, I need you. I'm here, Max. Alright, Hesperia, listen. I know you can't do it directly, because the power I'm using belonged to you, but now it's no longer part of you, so you need a link. Chloe, let Hesperia get inside you and then hold on to me. What? Trust me, you know I love you and I will never do anything that could harm you.
Chloe looked at the brunette, who had a look that instilled great confidence and resolve, then said,
Okay, Hesperia, get inside me.
The light of Hesperia enveloped Chloe, and turning towards Max, her eyes were devoid of pupils.
Now, hold on to me, Hesperia, when I tell you, pour all your power inside me.
Are you sure it will work?
I don't know, but we have to try, no matter what.
The dark matter, with a furious and rebellious roar, had begun to advance, and it was just one step to completely swallow the factory, and if it would have touched the hourglasses that had remained outside the benevolent domain, it would have been the end. Max saw it and understood that it was time.
Hesperia, no!
Chloe was shining with light, which also enveloped Max, who had instinctively extended also her left hand. The brunette felt within herself the immense power of the Guardian grow until it reached the climax. Then she concentrated and unleashed with all her strength the two united powers that hit the dark matter that, screaming in pain, started to retreat. The two girls and the Guardian instinctively began to advance, and the more they advanced, the more the dark matter retreated. And when it released its grip on the rest of the factory, the power of Max automatically rebuilt what had been destroyed. They continued to advance, but now with more difficulty, because the dark matter fought back with dark waves on the two girls.
Fuck, I am awakening,
Max said through gritted teeth. A wave of light hit the dark matter that emitted a shriek of pain stronger than before and continued to retreat, and Max saw that Hesperia had attacked it. She took advantage of the moment and with a last effort of her power repelled what was left of the dark matter inside the factory by imprisoning it back into the system.
Posebius, It's your turn!
Hesperia yelled, and immediately afterwards the factory was flooded with silver sand that fell from above and enveloped it, making it return completely intact and functioning. Max was exhausted and panting said,
Well, we did it. I swear, I still can't believe it.
Thank you, Max. If it wasn't for you now, there will be chaos.
Don't thank me. I made a promise, and I kept it. We must thank Chloe, who helped us instead.
Sure. Now I will get out of her body. Max waited, but nothing happened.
What's happening? I can't come out. This is a very serious trouble.
Max grabbed Chloe by the arm.
Oh no! Chloe! Chloe!
While calling her Hesperia, who was still trying to get out, all of a sudden managed to come out, but so violently that gone through the brunette's body, who, caught off guard, fell to the ground. Chloe recovered in that moment and saw Max on the ground and ran to her.
Max! Max! Talk to me! Is everything okay?
She reopened again her eyes and said,
Yes, now that I see that you are okay.
And Chloe, with a sigh of relief and smiling, hugged her and kissed her tenderly, continuing to hold her tight.
Now do you understand it, Posebius? Can you see what can be done for love? It isn't a nonsense like you think, and...
Let's go back to Mixlotemporum. We must tell him what happened.
Alright. Let's go back, girls. It's time to leave the factory to its duties.
At these words, Hesperia brought them back to the judge of the time and with Posebius explained what's happened.
An event really unexpected, but with a very positive resolution. And now they maybe also solve their problem. Maybe that's why you were brought here today. And who would have ever said it?
The confused girl looked at each other and the brunette asked,
Your timingness, but what does that mean?
You will understand it soon. You will understand it by yourselves.
Chloe then intervened and asked, Could your timelessness be more explicit?
It's time to go. We will definitely see again.
At these words, they were flooded with blinding light. Then silence. Both woke up suddenly and found themselves in the room. They looked at each other and hugged with relief. The sun had already risen and it was a splendid day.
Chloe, thanks for trusting me,
Max said with tears in her eyes. Chloe squeezed her even more and crying replied,
I love you, Ippy. I don't know how you do it, but you always give me so much strength, and the trust I place in you is absolute.
And they kissed with great passion. Both still did not believe they had escaped a catastrophe even more terrible than any tornado.
Chloe, I will say that now we have to think about what to do to help Mark. Okay, Max, but not before we put something in the stomach, and this is especially for you, my little doe. You know that for me it is important to take care of you, she said, rubbing her nose with the brunette's nose. Of course I know, my sweet blue punk, Max answered, laughing tenderly. Well then, let's go. It's already 9:45 and we slept quite enough, she said, looking at the clock. Yeah, apart the catastrophe we averted, Max said. Now, I can hear your stomach rumbling. Yes, I'm hella hungry. See, I told you. Yes, but this time I'll cook. Okay, sweetie. So they went down to the kitchen and Max took everything she needed to cook. This morning I'll amaze you, said the brunette. Oh yeah? What are you going to cook for me? Chloe asked, approaching. No. Lay the table and then sit down. I'll take care of the rest. Okay. So the parts were reversed that morning, and Max, as soon as she was ready for the table, said to Chloe, Close your eyes. The girl did as the brunette told her, who put 2 nice Belgian waffles on her plate and for her own as well. Okay, reopen them and enjoy your meal. Chloe reopened her eyes and was really surprised to see what the brunette had prepared for her. Wowzer, Max! This is really a tasty surprise! The brunette blushed, massaging her neck. Well, please taste them and tell me how... She hadn't finished talking that Chloe was already eating them, and also greedily. She finished them in less than 10 minutes without taking her eyes off the plate, as Max watched her between one bite and the other, noticing a big smile and sound of delight from her. When she had finished, she asked with an ironic expression, It looked like it wasn't tasty at all, huh? Chloe, without answering, leaned toward her, took her face in her hands, filling her with kisses on her mouth that the brunette did not expect. Chloe then went back to sit down and, looking at the brunette with a sweet smile, said, Well, I will say that my answer was rather eloquent, don't you think? And Max nodded. Well, now let's get ready. We have to do. You go first, said the brunette. Nice try, hippie. You go first, and I'll tidy up here. Max smiled at her. Okay. So the brunette went upstairs, went into Chloe's room, made the bed, prepared clean clothes on it, then took the towel, went to the bathroom, and after doing her business, entered the shower and began to wash herself. While she was finishing shampooing, she felt someone hugging her. She finished washing her head and saw Chloe, who was leaning on her, caressing her back. Do you know what is the most beautiful thing for me? No, Chloe, tell me. It is being able to hug you and feel the heart in your chest beating like this for me. And for me, it is knowing that you are here close to me, safe and sound, and that I will never ever leave you. Chloe looked at her, smiling. Come on, I'll help you wash so we can do it faster. What is it, hippie? Are you in a hurry? No, it's that I am a little worried about Mark. Hey, Time Master, have you forgotten that you have to use a photo? Time is frozen there, and even if something happens to Mark now, you still have to act in the past. Yes, I know. It's just that... Come on, don't worry. It's okay. Give me a hand. And the brunette helped Chloe to wash, and together they got out of the shower and dried themselves. Then they went to the room, and Max took the picture of Mark, and their beloved said, Max, if you want, you don't have to. Chloe, what are you saying? It's just that I'm worried about you. What could happen if you take the leap and dissolve instead of being able to materialize there? I'm aware of it, but if I don't try, I'll never know, and I can't allow that because of a father like that could be unleashed the worst psychopath that we have ever seen. I suppose you're right. Okay, try to do the leap. I'll wait for you here. Please, just be careful. Unfortunately, I can't follow you, and this is what hurts me the most. Chloe, come on, I'll be careful,
Max told her. So the brunette focused her concentration on the photo, but nothing happened.
How strange. I can't...
She tried again, focusing more, but nothing.
Chloe, I can't do the leap.
What?
I'm trying, but it doesn't work.
Chloe walked over to her and asked, How do you do it?
Well, I focus on the photo, and when the focus is successful, I begin to touch the essence of it by listening to the voices of that moment that goes through my mind, more or less.
Chloe listened silently and then said, Okay, hippie, then I'll try to help you. I don't think it will work, but never say never that you never know.
Okay, Chloe.
The brunette maid put Chloe behind her, then together they held the photo in their hands and focused on it. After a few seconds, both began to hear the echoes of the voices of the past of that photo, getting stronger and stronger until they made the leap, and the strong light blinded them. Surprisingly, they found themselves not far from Mark's house in Fairmont Street, in the same neighborhood, but which housed 3 abandoned cars in the lawn on the side that separated his house from the end of the neighborhood itself. The girl looked at each other, and to be sure they were really there, they touched their own hands, and actually the jump was successful.
Chloe, we must go to see Mark now.
She nodded. They were about to start walking when they saw a butterfly with one red wing and the other blue fluttering in front of them and heading right towards the house.
Chloe, look!
I see, hippie. I don't know why, but I really have a strange presentiment. And they ran to the house of the boy, now a child. Entering the garden that had quite tall grass, they peered out of the windows and saw Mark, who at that moment was in the living room in front of the coffee table, where the father, quite rejuvenated, was setting the birthday cake in front of him and was lighting the candles. The living room window was slightly open, so they could hear everything.
Chloe, look,
whispered Max.
Hippie, do you remember what he said yesterday night? Agent Hooker will come here to give his wishes to Mark. I think that we should do something when he arrives.
After Mark blown out the candles, he looked at the cake, saying what made his father furious, who threw him violently on the ground and slapping him so hard that made bleed the child's nose, and shaking him in the air, screaming at him. The girls were terrified to see how violently he was mistreating him. Immediately afterward, the father took off his own belt, folded it in two, and began hitting him with terrible fury as the poor boy screamed in pain. Max could barely hold back the tears from the pain that what she saw was causing her, and turning to Chloe, she saw that was struggling as well to do the same, but from the expression on her face, hers were tears of anger. Meanwhile, the car of Agent Hooker passed by and parked in front of the house. The two girls just had time to hide behind the house, and they heard the knock of the agent at the door.
All clear, Max.
said Chloe, peeking out from behind the wall of the house. They both went back to the window and saw poor Mark staring sadly, hurt and still crying at the cake that had fallen to the floor.
Mark,
Max whispered.
come here. Do you remember us?
The child turned towards the window and saw them. Slowly, he approached the window.
Who are you? I don't remember.
Max, trying to not cry, said,
I know, but now everything will change.
And opening widely the window, she picked him up, pulling him out and walking toward the front of the house. As they walked, Chloe stumbled and fell to the ground.
Chloe, sorry Max, but I tripped and yet there is only the lawn.
The girl looked closer and saw that she had tripped over something that appeared to be the lace of a sandal shoe.
Max, don't ask me why, but now I'm seriously scared and I'm afraid that... Not now, Chloe. We'll think about it later.
When they arrived in front of the house, the agent Hooker had said bye to Mark's father, who had closed the door, and was going back to the car when Chloe ran to him.
Excuse me, are you Agent Hooker?
The policeman replied.
Sure, in flesh, bones and uniform,
he said, smiling.
Well, then now your uniform will be very useful for this town. Look what your dear friend Donald Jefferson has just done.
And the brunette showed him the poor Mark, who was bruised and still had a bloody nose. The policeman turned pale.
Oh my God, Mark, what happened to you? What beast reduced you like this?
It was his father. We saw him.
And they told the agent everything, including that in the garden Chloe had tripped over that lace of a sandal shoe. Agent Hooker couldn't believe his ears. Then turning to Mark, asked him,
Mark, it was really your father. Don't worry, you can speak freely. No one is going to hurt you. And you know me. If Agent Hooker says one thing, that's it. So, was it him?
Mark looked at the policeman and nodded as tears rolled down his cheeks, bursting into a cry so silent that was deafening. The officer was seized with great anger to see how had been reduced that poor child.
Mark, I'll just ask one more question, and that's it. It's not the first time that he did this to you, right?
And the boy nodded, confirming that it wasn't. Agent Hooker picked up the radio and immediately called backup and ambulance.
Girls, please, stay here with him. I'll take care of the rest.
Meanwhile, Donald Jefferson was walking out the front door of the house, frothing with anger.
Mark! Where the fuck are you?
And he noticed only after that the policeman had pointed the gun at him.
Oh, Thomas, have you seen my son? Before I left him in the bathroom and now...
Hands up, Donald. This is the last time you hurt your son. How could you? Why did you do that? I thought you were a better person, but you are just a shit, and you will pay dearly for this.
Mark's father instinctively raised his hands and said,
Hey, Thomas, what the fuck are you saying? Are you crazy? Me hurting my son? What shit are you babbling of?
Don't move. You are a liar, and I strongly advise you to keep quiet, because right now I have a great desire to kill you. You are lucky that I am wearing this uniform and I must uphold the law, otherwise you were already dead. Be sure of that. Now come here,
Turn around and put your hands behind your back.
Come on, Thomas. You know me. Are you serious? Why should I put the hands on my son? He is all I have, and he just wanted to know where his mom was, and you, instead of answering him, you have always abused and beaten him again and again. What kind of shit are you? Taking on a 10-year-old child? You don't deserve the title of father. You are an orc. You are an animal, and saying so I'm offending them because all animals are much more human than you. I have tripped in a lace of sandal in the garden, and I also think I have understand who it belongs to. That's why you never wanted to answer your son!"
screamed Chloe in a fit of rage.
"It's over, Donald. Now you will pay for everything,"
said Max, calm and collected. Mark's father turned pale at those words. Agent Hooker approached him, handcuffed him, and before putting him in the petrol, with all the anger in his body, punched him in the stomach, making him bend with pain.
This is the less that you deserve. I had to take this satisfaction, and thank me that I stopped here.
After that, he pushed him inside, locking the doors so that he could not escape. In the meantime, the ambulance and the reinforcement arrived, who went directly to Agent Hooker. Among them, the girl recognized a very young Agent Barry. Hooker gave the orders, and all the agents got busy. The girls took little Mark to the ambulance, where the nurses treated him. "He's in bad shape. Look here, he also has 2 cracked ribs. What kind of beast was his father?" whispered one to the other. Meanwhile, other agents had entered the house, and others were digging in the garden. "Thomas, come here now!" Agent Barry said. Hooker approached where he had been dug up and was hit by an acrid, rotting stench, causing him to back off.
"Oh, Holy Mother of God!"
"That's where Jennifer Sunhart gone," Barry said as he took off his hat and lowered his head.
She was such a cheerful and kind woman. I had never met such a benevolent person. She didn't deserve this, said Hooker. Make sure that the child doesn't see anything. Take the mother away now that he is still in the ambulance. If there are personal effects on her that the child may have, send it to me. Obviously, if they are fundamental evidences for the trial, leave them where they are. Yes, sir, said Officer Barry. Hooker went to the ambulance and asked how the boy was, and the nurses coming out with him explained the situation. After he had listened to them, he went back into the ambulance, knelt in front of him, and said, I'm very sorry for what happened to you. I don't know how I didn't notice it before, when sometimes you were sad and didn't talk, or when your father said that you were in the bathroom or that you weren't feeling well. But now it's all over, and all I ask of you is just to forgive me, said Hooker as a tear ran down his cheek. The child looked at Thomas, and he wiped the tear with his hand and smiled at him. Thomas, seeing this, calmed down and said, Thank you, Mark. I would like to ask you something. When everything is over, would you like to come and live with me? I would like you to become my son, and believe me, I would be so happy. Mark looked at him and nodded, saying, Okay, Dad. And Agent Thomas Hooker hugged him and cried tears of joy. The girls were relieved to see that the situation was resolved. Young ladies, come out, we need to talk, Hooker said as he got out of the ambulance. Agent, we will just like to... Thank you. Without you, I really don't know what could have happened.
I've always cared so much for that child. Me and my wife have never had one, so I have to thank you twice. Once for having saved a life, and twice because you gave me the most beautiful gift that a family can ever have.
The girls smiled. Agent Hooker, you don't have to thank us. You just have to do us a favor if you can.
Whatever you want, always if it's within my powers.
Nothing particularly difficult. Just love and never leave him alone. Besides, Agent Barry is a very good cop, and you should be more present for him. And one more little thing, we don't have to be absolutely involved in this matter.
Why not? You did one good deed, actually two.
Please, Agent, that's all we ask.
Okay, I don't know what is the reason they push you to do this, but that's okay. So please, take care of you. See you soon.
The girls said bye to him and the little Mark, finally walking to the place where they appeared. The moment they set foot in the same spot, a dazzling light enveloped them, and after a moment they found themselves back in Chloe's room.